All right, everyone, we'll call the meeting to order. It is 1 o'clock. So we did have a couple of items added to the agenda. So if we could elect a chair and vice chair for either the remaining term of the committee or a period of your so choosing. Anybody wants to make a motion? Sorry, can you turn on your mic?
I'll make a motion to Dale be chair.
Dale for chair.
I'd like to second that.
And that was for the term of the committee? Okay. All right, all in favor? All opposed? I'm assuming you're in.
Can I request?
Can you turn on your mic?
Just 1 year at a time?
Just 1
Rather than
year?
a full term, just in case, if someone else wants to step up, it gives them the opportunity. Or maybe I might want to step down, so.
Okay, so we had it voted and all in favor for the term of the committee. So maybe in a year, I can bring it back and then ask if we want to revisit that motion that was made.
Okay.
Does that work?
I'll rescind my motion to say of 1 year. Okay?
Okay, so you're putting forward a second motion?
Yeah, second motion to be 1 year.
Okay, you're going to amend it? All right. Okay.
I'll
and
second
is there a
that
seconder?
again.
You're going to second that again? Okay, all in favor? All opposed? Seeing none? All right. And Dale, did you want to take the chair position and we'll elect a vice chair? Or does that work for you? All right.
Okay.
All right, and then the other item that we had added to the agenda was Marvin Largo, one of the, oh, that's right, sorry. I apologize, Mr.
Okay, so floor is open for nominations for vice chair for a 1 year term.
I nominate Mel.
Seconder?
I'd like to second that.
Okay. Mel, do you allow your name to stand? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Welcome, Mel.
Sorry, and then the other item that was, I would like to add is that Marvin Largo has requested to resign from the committee. So if there could be a motion to accept the resignation and request that the selection committee appoint a new member.
Okay, can we have a motion for that in effect?
I'll make a motion to
Al?
accept his resignation.
Okay, is there a seconder?
I'll second that.
Donna? All in favor? Opposed, if any? Seeing none.
Seeing none?
Do you need this screen? Do you need this screen?
It's got on the mic.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Did you need it?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Yep, that's as low as it goes. Yeah, okay,
I might be able to ask her to break it if you go over. That's all that I would.
okay. All right, what's our time? No, wait. I'll wait and then we'll just roll right into. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order and we'll start off with roll call. Nick? Bob's away, I guess. Mel? Here. Sebastian? Donna May? Here. And myself, Dale. Are there any members with a conflict of interest in any applications today? Seeing none. Jamila, if you wish to call the first application.
So we are hearing B 2418 for 137 Peter Street in Hamilton. Are there any members of the public who wish to provide comments for this file? Please make yourself known. Seeing none, Mr. Chair, would the agent for the file please come forward to the microphone or unmute yourself?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, committee members, and city staff.
Yes, welcome.
Welcome. We deferred our previous committee meeting, gave us an opportunity to chat with city staff. So basically right now, this particular property under the Urban official plan, staff was not in support. Not compatible with surrounding lot fabric. Also, staff was not in support due to the Strathcona secondary plan exceeding the maximum 60 units per hectare. Basically, the staff has put forth in their recommendation of their comments that not to approve the severance because of these two conditions. In light of that, we've had a chance and opportunity to talk to city staff to get a better understanding of what has transpired and why. June 24th, 2021, and I was not privy to the original minor variances. When the minor variances were applied for and approved by the city of Hamilton, was to build a semi-detached on this particular dwelling or this property. In that application process, it was noted that a consent to sever the property in the future was the rationale behind all those variances that were approved by city staff, which they were. So I want to make sure that we're aware of that. That file number was 20313. In discussions with the city staff on this particular application, on a meeting on June 5th with Jennifer and David, the Henderson staff, and some other staff members through zoning. Based under the official plan, under the old official plan, through the urban and Strathcona, hence the staff would not support it. But in light of the meeting, staff has also indicated that the official plan was amended under the secondary plan, and the density requirement would come out of this particular area, and we would not have objection by staff. But unfortunately, staff needs to comment on the official plan today because the amended official plan is being appealed, so they cannot review this application under the official plan that's being appealed at this present time. In our meeting with staff, unfortunately, they cannot put it in writing, but from our meeting, it seemed that staff was in support of, through this meeting, amongst ourselves, that based on what we're proposing, to have the severance of the semi after it was built under the potential new official plan amendment, they would be supportive. It's kind of weird wording because there's the old official plan, but an amended one that they'd be in support of, but it's being appealed. Stating that it is a semi-detached, there is, in light of this with the staff, the semi-detached can be done two ways in the city of Hamilton. One where the lot is one still entity, but a semi on the property. The intent of the original application of the minor variance in 2021 was noted that to be severed. It was not their objection to have one lot with a semi. It was to have a semi and split into two lots. The concern we had was in 2021, and I wasn't privy to that application, that it was stated about the future severance. I'm not sure why some of the issues as far as the official plan was not brought to the client's attention or the client's attention at that time. So it might have been an oversight, might have been a housekeeping issue. I don't know, wasn't privy to that. But unfortunately today we have to deal with what's in front of us today. Based on the current official plan, urban and Strathcona, regardless of the amendment, we still feel that the built form in this area is suitable for the area. There is still a lot of semis on this street. There's a fourplex as well next to us. So basically, with our staff meeting, getting a better direction of why they weren't supportive. But again, I think it's more of a black and white wording because based on our meeting, the amended official plan that's being appealed would take, we wouldn't be in front of council today or committee, I think, when you look at that. So basically, the city staff, if they're present, they can maybe elaborate a bit on the official plan and the amendment and the appeal process that's being done and kind of our particular proposal that's in front of staff today. So we're looking for, obviously, the committee members to look at this, I guess, open-minded of what's transpired, and hopefully we can get this put forward as far as the severance. If the severance does go forward, there's another section of the zoning bylaw that has, it's called a transition clause. So we would not need to go back for any minor variances for lot sizing based on the meeting we had with city staff. That's basically it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Committee have some questions?
He mentioned that the city staff, talking to him and that, could we have some answers from the city staff on what he just said, whether we can go through with it and do it?
Through the chair, Jennifer Caterino, Area Planning Manager. So everything that the applicant said is true. We're currently unable to support the application based on the force and effect policies of the official plan today. There is an official plan amendment currently under appeal that staff, once the appeal's dealt with and there's a decision on whether or not that policy is accepted by the Ontario Land Tribunal, if it's approved, staff would be relying on that policy, which would in fact mean we could support this application. We're kind of in a, I don't want to say catch-22, but we are kind of in a odd position where from a policy perspective, we have to analyze the policies that are currently in force and effect, and the one currently does not support the application. In a few months or so, once the appeals are dealt with, we may be in a different position. But unfortunately today, we cannot support this application.
Anyone else?
It sounds like it might be best to table this until the decision's made.
Till the appeal is heard, or
Yeah.
which way it goes? Is that a motion to table, or any other thoughts?
Excuse me? Am I allowed to speak?
Yes.
Okay. I understand for the committee members to get, I guess, more information from city staff potentially for it being tabled. My really big concern here is in 2021, when the minor variances were put forth in front of city staff, and it's clearly stated that this land was to be severed or is going to be going in for consent to sever it, and all the minor variances were based on the severance of the semi in 2021. Why did this not come up as a red flag from any staff member at that time when we got the minor variances granted and said that in our documentation that this is going to be going into consent for severance for the semi-detached? So our clients are in really a bit of a situation because right now the current semi, we can only occupy one side because I cannot even get an address or hydro on the secondary dwelling because it's not separated. So and the building is built, has a permit, its kitchen's in, being painted, it's ready for occupancy. So it's really difficult for my client that we are actually going through this process when I think it's been an oversight from 2021. Now, again, if we have to table this so we could get further documentation to the committee members, I mean, again, I think we may have no choice. But again, it just puts my client in a very awkward situation of what has transpired previous to this.
Okay, thank you for your comments. It's too bad that it took so long from 2021 to 2024 to find out this problem has arisen. But I am thinking that if there's any other members that have any comments, it's probably best to maybe take this idea of a motion of tabling. The comment from the planning department was possibly 1 month or a little longer before this is dealt with. And then it sounds like that they would be in favor of it at that point in time. I don't want to put words in other people's mouths, but that seems to be what the feelings are. So.
I just have a comment for city staff.
Sure, Mike.
Yeah, my mic is on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like the appeal that's going through, like what exactly is changing that would allow him to essentially, or for city to support this?
Thank you. So through the chair, with the recent low-density zoning, an official plan amendment was also included to That's the easiest way. So each of the secondary plans has their own, like density targets and their own built form requirements for each designation. This official plan amendment essentially, says that those secondary plans can conform to the parent OP in terms of density and built form. So in the Strathcona secondary plan, which this property is in, the secondary plan currently has a density target, and so the parent OP does not. So with this official plan amendment, essentially, we're to look at the parent OP in terms of density, and that's our biggest concern in terms of this application. So we would no longer have to use that calculation as part of our evaluation in this consent application.
And do we have like an idea of what the likelihood of something like that passing is, or is it really up to debate still?
It's my understanding, so through the chair, it's my understanding that this appeal is tied to, so like I said, the low-density residential zoning. There are two bylaws. Again, I can't predict what the Ontario Land Tribunal will do, but I do think that the city is trying to separate the appeals and trying to only deal with the appeal that's on the table. And it's my understanding that the low-density residential appeal is something that can be handled quickly. Whether that's a month or two, I can't say. But it is my understanding that the city is working in the direction to get that settled as quick as possible.
To staff, my question is it's, the Strathcona is now low density and the official plan, it doesn't, and they're looking to lift that low density off the Strathcona area?
So through the chair, it's really, the designation will stay the same, but it's the density requirement for low density that will be removed.
Okay, I think I'd make a motion to have this tabled until the, it's looked at and they've had a chance to deal with it through the land tribunal.
Okay, motion made by Donna. Is there a seconder?
I'll second that.
Nick? All in favor? Opposed? One opposed.
Opposed?
Motion carried, application tabled.
All right, we're all set for the next file. We're hearing A2491 for 45 Marion Avenue North in Hamilton. Are there any members of the public who wish to provide comments for this file? Please make yourself known. Seeing none, Mr. Chair, would the agent for the file please come forward to the microphone or unmute yourself if you are virtual?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, committee members, and city staff. Thank you for having us here today. I do want to just very quickly preface our discussion with some general context.
Sorry, could you provide your name for the record?
Sure. My name is Troy Carrington. I am the agent and architectural designer on this project. Yes, so preface our discussion with some general context on this application for an additional dwelling unit. The homeowners at this property have lived at 45 Marion Ave for some 30 years. They love the city of Hamilton. They love their community and their neighborhood of Westdale that they have called home for these past 3 decades. They have raised a beautiful family in this home, and it's the very children who grew up here that, given housing prices today, can frankly not afford to raise their family in the neighborhood that they cherish. And so enter this additional dwelling unit solution. Our proposal that we put forward is so that these owners can offer a multi-generational living solution for themselves and for their children's young growing family. We did apply for minor variances in order to make this additional dwelling unit possible. We did receive staff comments on each of the variance applications, and I suppose I can address each of the comments. The first of the comments was surrounding the potential, the archaeological potential of the property. Coincidentally enough, the proposed new owner of the primary dwelling, which was the child who grew up in this home, is an archaeological professional. So he, of course, takes the potential archaeological significance of the property very seriously, and he carried out his own preliminary archaeological dig before he himself felt comfortable even moving forward with any designs for an additional dwelling unit on the property. He did find that there were no preliminary findings, and we, of course, would be prepared to provide any, formal report or documentation to document that result. There was a comment regarding the property needing to continue the architectural character of the neighborhood. I can speak to the fact that special care has in fact been taken to bring the continuity of the architectural character onto the proposed addition. We did provide proposed elevations, and on those proposed elevations, you will see that we specifically took care to match the existing stucco finish onto the proposed dwelling. All of the proposed windows have been very intentionally proportioned to match the existing window proportions, and as well, architecturally significant lintels that exist on the existing structure have been carried over onto the proposed dwelling so as to continue that architectural nomenclature. We also chose to build down. We have a modest footprint, and we went for a basement proposal so as not to overbuild and overmass the proposed structure and really maintain the existing dwelling as the primary massing. The other variances that we had comments on were all surrounding existing non-conforming conditions. So we are requesting an increase in the allowable gross floor area ratio. The existing gross floor area ratio does already exceed what the bylaw states as allowable. I assume this is because the bylaws came into effect after the structure was already standing. So we have proposed an increase in the gross floor area ratio, although our proposed footprint is very modest. We are really trying to make a responsible addition to this home. And, the new inhabitants can really live in a smaller footprint. Another variance was for a minimum side yard. Zoning requires a 1.2 meters. The existing side yard is at 0.2 meters, and we are only proposing to continue the existing side yard condition. And the final variances were regarding parking spaces. The bylaws surrounding additional dwelling units do not require us to provide additional parking. There is an existing non-conforming condition where there are no parking spaces of a conforming dimension, and we are only continuing that non-conforming existing condition. So really, to sum it up, we are really trying to get a family a home here, and we are trying to do it in a very architecturally responsible manner, and just continue the existing conditions of the lot.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
To the committee? Questions on the variances that are applied for?
Here again, I'm going to ask the staff. I think the biggest thing I see here is the ratio for the floor area. So can staff report on that?
Hello, staff. My name is David. Sorry. Through the chair to the committee member, my name is David Bonter. I'm the planning technician that prepared comments for this. What exactly was your question regarding the gross floor area ratio?
It was a gross floor area. The percentage is way up.
Yes. So my comments regarding the floor area ratio were essentially that while the existing dwelling did already exceed the maximum, about a 45% ratio is what's permitted as of right. The existing house has a gross floor area ratio of about 300 square meters, and with the proposed addition, it would be about 450 square meters. So the proposed ratio would result in around 148%, so, or a ratio of 1.48 as it's written in the zoning. The gist of why we don't support that particular variance is that we do not believe that it's minor or keeping in the spirit of the zoning bylaw, which are two of the 4 tests for a variance to meet.
Does that answer your question okay? Yeah. No? Anyone else on the committee? The parking, I guess, is an existing situation. The comment from the agent on the side yard, I think you said rear yard, but did you mean side yard?
I did mean side yard. We are maintaining the required rear yard.
So right now, you say there's legal non-conforming 0 parking spots?
That's correct.
So there's no parking at all for the,
There are spots that they do park in along the side of the home. Just when we took the detailed survey and did those detailed measurements, we found that they were just below what the legal conforming dimensions are. So there is a driveway that they have been parking in for 30 years with 3 parking spots, but they do not meet zoning dimensions.
okay, thanks.
This is a question for our city staff, specifically, give me a second here, our development engineering area. Do we have any concerns around drainage and just runoff and things along those lines with the amount of, I guess, land that we're going to take up with this new attachment and essentially more washrooms, more showers, et cetera? So just my thoughts around that, and just want to hear your thoughts.
So we don't currently have any staff from development engineering who are attending the hearing.
I would imagine with the effect of,
Planning staff may be able to comment.
okay.
So through the chair, just looking at the comments provided by our colleagues in development engineering, they have noted they have no concerns or objections with the minor variance. So that includes, and they specifically mentioned the side yard setback of 0.2 meters on the north side.
I get one question I have maybe for planning on variance 4. It says 0 parking spaces shall be required for secondary dwelling unit instead of the required 1 parking space for the secondary dwelling unit. I think in the past, a lot of the secondary dwelling units didn't require a parking spot, and yet the wording says different.
Through the chair, Emily Coe, acting manager of zoning and committee of adjustment. It is correct. I'm not sure why that variance was included. It's an existing dwelling and they're allowed to establish a secondary dwelling unit without triggering additional parking.
Okay. With your comments, there is some parking spots there. It maybe should have been a variance in there for the parking that it's under required size. But
Right.
we'll deal with what we have in front of us. So I'm guessing to the committee, the big question is variance 1 with the gross floor area.
Can I make any further comments on that point?
Go ahead.
I just want to point out that while the 1.48 number might appear staggering, it is to do with the existing condition. Like our proposed additional gross floor area is very modest. It is just that the existing dwelling is already taking up a large portion of that gross floor area ratio. So we're not proposing something staggering.
How much more is the gross floor area that the new dwelling section is going to take up?
We are proposing about 75 meters squared on the main floor, and then the basement floor is doubling that. So I would, quick math, be putting us at about 0.3.
So will that take us close to the neighbor's yard?
No, we are respecting
In
the
the back.
required setback in the back, so we still have over the 7.5 meters required. We are just continuing the existing restricted side yard, and then on the other side, giving the required side yard as well.
Mel?
I'm looking at this as if it's basically all this existing there, even though you're adding a very small part. I'm making a stab at this. I'm going to approve this application.
That's a motion?
Yep.
Okay, motion made by Mel for approval. Is there a seconder?
Yes, I'll second that.
Donna, all in favor? Opposed?
Seeing none?
Seeing none, motion carried, application approved.
Thank you so much.
All right, we are all set for the next. All right, we're all set for the next files. We're hearing B 2428 and A 24101 for 39 Stanley Avenue in Hamilton. If we have any interested parties who wish to provide comments in person, please make yourself known. Seeing none, we have one interested party who registered to speak virtually. George Mulcair, if you are on the line, please unmute yourself. I do not currently see George Munker on the virtual participation. Calling again, please make yourself known. Do not currently see them. The agent for the file could please come forward to the microphone or unmute yourself if you are attending virtually.
Hello?
Welcome.
Perfect. My name is Cameron Bellavia. I'm the owner of 39 Stanley Avenue. We're looking to sever the lot so that we can build a single-family dwelling on the property. The current unit has 3 separate units. Each one of them is beautiful, but they're all pretty small. So we're looking to build a single-family home to fit the whole family in it. For the notes, we have, to be honest with you, I had no idea what to prepare, guys, so I apologize in advance.
You read the comments, though, and you saw the proposed conditions?
I did.
Okay.
If it is easiest with you, I can go through these.
Did you have any questions?
Do I have questions
Yes.
for you guys?
Yes.
Absolutely. Is there any red flags? I got
Okay.
the slow approve both applications recommendation, but was unsure
Okay.
how heavy that is.
Does the committee have questions or any concerns on both? Yeah,
I'd like to make a motion to approve this with the conditions.
okay. Is there a seconder? Mel, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion carried, application approved.
Thank you very much, guys.
All right, we are all set for the next file. We're hearing a 24-102 for 121 and 135 Mary Street. We do have the agent who had requested to speak first. If you are present, please come forward to the microphone or unmute yourself if you are virtual. Sorry, your microphone's not working.
Now?
Yes, I
Can you
believe
hear
we can hear you now.
Okay, great. Good afternoon. Through the chair, Caitlin Gillis, planner with Landwise. And as our office identified an additional variance that we would like the time to discuss with planning, we're asking to defer the application from today and be rescheduled for the June 25th hearing.
Okay, your wishes are for tabling till the next meeting?
Correct.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll motion to table it till June 25th meeting.
Seconder? Mel, all in favor of table? Opposed, if any? Seeing none, motion carried, application tabled to the next meeting.
Yeah, so for the record, the application is tabled until 1:10 on June 25th. No further notice will be provided. If you had registered to speak, you'll be provided the link again. But again, no further notice will be provided. The hearing is, or the application is tabled until June 25th at 1:10 p.m.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, just a minute, please.
I got it.
Okay, hold on. You have to. Okay, all right. Okay, I'm sorry, sir. The application was tabled until June 25th, so it is not being heard today. I'm sorry, we aren't able to do that. All right, we're all set for the next file. We're hearing A 2497 for 157 to 159 Ferry Street East in Hamilton. Are there any members of the public who wish to provide comments? Please make yourself known. Seeing none, Mr. Chair. Sorry, you're here for 157 for 159 Ferry Street? No, okay. Thank you. If the owners are present for 157 to 159 Ferry Street, please come forward to the microphone or unmute yourself if you are attending in person.
Good afternoon. I'm Marcus Dew. I'm the owner.
And Olivia Barrera, co-owner. So just to provide, I guess, a little bit of context, this is a zoning condition as a part of our severance application that is administrative in nature. So we have made no revisions to the existing land structures or parking, green space, et cetera. So I just would like to clarify, we've received a proposed condition surrounding an encroachment agreement. With all due respect, I guess on the website, we had read that that's not applicable to parking and had further confirmed that with the zoning department as well yesterday upon reviewing this. So I think we were just hoping for some clarification on the need for an encroachment agreement pertaining to this.
Okay.
So I believe we have staff who have comments.
So through the chair, I think it should have been a residential boulevard parking agreement. So essentially there is, I think it's 157 Ferry, has an existing driveway where the car parks. That driveway, the majority of it's on public property. So typically when there's a situation like that, we require some kind of legal agreement with the city to kind of legalize that arrangement so somebody has access to that space on city property. So perhaps we could modify that condition if the committee would entertain it to reflect a residential boulevard parking agreement. It's a similar agreement. You registered on title. It just reflects the fact that there is a parking space that's enjoyed by a private owner of an adjacent property on public property.
And to the committee, that's okay?
I make a motion to approve that, to amend it to a residential boulevard parking agreement as opposed to the encroachment agreement.
Okay.
Are you, the applicants, okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you understood what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think so, yeah.
in that case, I'll second it.
Okay, and sorry, just to clarify, so you're only proposing a motion to amend the proposed condition, or you're proposing a motion to approve the application with the amended condition?
Yeah.
I guess I'll make a motion to approve the application with the amended application.
Okay. Is there a seconder?
Yeah.
No?
I thought that's what the motion was, so I second that.
Yep. All in favor? Opposed?
Seeing none?
Seeing none, motion carried, application approved.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're all set for the next application. We are hearing A 24108 for 31 Greenaway Avenue in Hamilton. Are there any members of the public present in person who wish to provide comments? Please make yourself known. Sorry, you're providing comments in person for 31 Greenaway, or you're the applicant or owner? Okay, then please come forward to the microphone. Sorry, can you come forward to the microphone to provide comments?
Can the application be heard first? I apologize, I don't know if I have the question, if it's applicable or not.
So if you want to provide comments to the committee about an application that's before them, you need to provide comments to the committee.
Before the application is heard.
The application is being heard currently.
Currently.
I apologize. I'll withdraw that.
Okay. All right. We have one member who registered to speak virtually. Would Edward Lawrence please unmute yourself if you are present?
That was myself.
Oh, okay. All right, is the owner or agent for this file present? Please unmute yourself if you're attending virtually or come forward to the microphone if you're attending in person.
Yes, I'm here. My name is Richie Kana from R&R Designs. I'm attending virtually.
Okay, welcome. Go ahead.
Yes, I've reviewed city comments, staff comments. I have no further questions. It looks like everything is in staff agrees with.
Yes, they're positive comments.
Positive comments from what unless I'm missing something here, but we're just binding the encroachment agreement as we speak. I know that was all approved as well, so.
Okay, does the committee have any questions? Any concerns?
Not hearing any things I will approve with the conditions.
Okay, motion made by Mel.
Second that.
Seconded by Nick. All in favor? Opposed?
Seeing none?
Seeing none, motion carried. Application approved.
All right, we are all set for the next file. We're hearing A 2499 for 1663 Book Road West in Ancaster. Are there any members of the public present in person who wish to provide comments? Please make yourself known. Seeing none, we have no members registered to provide comments virtually. Would the agent or owner please come forward to the microphone if you are attending in person or unmute yourself if you're attending virtually?
Good afternoon. Peter Horvatus, owner of the property. I've read the staff comments and have no issues with the proposed conditions or the notes that were provided, so I'm fine with everything.
Okay, I had to smile a little bit on variance 3.
Yeah.
So, I know this is in the rural area, right?
Yeah.
And so, they require that you have electric vehicle.
Charging, yeah, I really don't see that as an issue at all because the existing garage is already wired for 220 because it feeds my pool. And I was going to put in an electric welder, so putting in a couple of extra outlets to accommodate vehicle chargers is a no-brainer. They're almost plug and play today. So I appreciate what the city is saying. I understand it. It makes sense. And I don't think it'll be a burden for me to accommodate that at all. So.
Committee?
The staff want to comment on that? No, they don't want to comment, okay. I agree with the electric vehicle. If you could make arrangements when you're building to have the wiring there ready for to put that electric vehicle access in, I'll pass it with that condition in there.
Sure.
With the conditions that the electric vehicle wiring will be there to facilitate charging.
Yeah.
Sorry, alternatively, you could just, this is up to you, obviously, but you could just not approve variance 3.
I know it said not approve number 3.
Yeah.
I'm approving number 3 with the condition that it would have the wiring there to have electric vehicle wiring charging station there. The fuses and everything there.
We could ask staff.
Are you okay with that, staff?
So through the chair, if you deny variance 3, he essentially will have to do the EV parking anyways. So I think the condition might be redundant.
Oh, the condition might be redundant? Okay. I just wanted to make sure that, okay. Otherwise, we just prove it with everything's there right now.
Can I just ask a question? And that would be covered under when I submit the building plan, right? That, to show that the EV parking and the appropriate wiring would be there. Yeah, again, that's relatively simple.
Okay, so your motion is?
To approve it as is.
Okay.
Sorry, approve it as is with variance 3?
Yep.
Okay.
Deny variance 3 because the fear is redundant.
Okay, so you just said to approve variance 3, so you want to deny variance 3? Or you want to remove variance 3 and just approve variances 1 and 2?
Approve variance 1 and 2 and deny 3.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, as written.
No, so as written is for the 3 variances.
Approve 1 and 2.
You're
deny
approving
3.
1 and 2 and denying 3. Okay, thank you.
Nick, second. All in favor? Opposed?
Seeing none?
Motion carried, application approved.
Thank you.
Right, we're all set for the next file. We're hearing ANA 2437 for 933 Highway 52 in Ancaster. Are there any members of the public who wish to provide comments? Please make yourself known. Seeing none, would the owner for the property please come forward to the microphone if you're attending in person?
Welcome.
So I'm attending for 933. I would ask that you not go along with the conditions presented. They're onerous, and I believe they're not with justification. Most of it's around tree planting and tree damage. I have photographs of the relief area showing you that there are no trees in that area. So there's nothing to really replace or plan if in fact you grant the condition. And you know, I've looked into it, and the conditions that you're asking for, or the staff are asking for, are financially onerous and going to accomplish nothing, because we're not planning on taking any trees down. And as I said, I'm happy to show you the photographs of the area of that there are no trees. The other thing is the adjacent properties to, so this is the southeast corner of my farm, and both adjoining farms are vacant land. There's no homes on them. They're just tenant farmers. And so literally within 5 feet of my property line, there are 2 cornfields. This is really not going to impact on anybody. And the proposed uses I have are just open storage. So it'll most likely be a 3-sided building. There really are no trees to impact. Like I said, I have photographs if you'd like to see them.
I know the variance 1, or the condition 1 with the minimum distance separation, there's really no fee for that. It's just a formula that's available, I think, on the Ontario Ministry of Ag and Food website. And all you have to do is the number of animals that you have in your barn, and it'll tell you how many feet you need to be away. And then if you're thousands of feet away from the closest resident, you can just, you know,
Well, that was
4,000 feet plus or minus type of thing. I think they just want something on record just to say that.
Well, I mean, I think I could do that one. We really don't keep animals in the barn anyways. All the animals are outside. The only time they ever come in a barn is for processing. So, you know, to be castrated or vaccinated, things like that, where we need to pen in beef cattle. Otherwise, they're outside all the time. So, I mean, I guess, and I thought that had to be done to get a building permit,
For a building permit?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, so I mean, I would have to do it anyway, so I mean, if you want to approve it with condition 1, but not with condition 2 and 3, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I kind of agree with number 3. I mean, that you don't need it. I mean, a landscape plan, it's an agricultural building that you're building and kind of thinking on the positive side that you don't landscape around an agricultural building, so. But what's the feeling of the committee as far as?
Can we see the pictures?
Absolutely.
Showing that there's no
Who should I give them to?
trees?
Who should I give them
Right
to?
over there.
So there are 2 photographs, an A and a B. The B photograph is the south boundary of, well, not the south boundary, but the south limit of what I'm asking for, and I've used 2 ladders to outline, I know it's not very sophisticated, but 2 ladders to show you approximately where it is. The trees behind it are
Could you
actually,
hold them up so that we can see them?
sorry?
Could you hold them up so that we can, the virtual people can see them?
Oh, sorry. The trees that you see in the background is the approximate property line, but we're going to be nowhere near that. On the right of the ladders, that's a horse pasture, so not going to impact that. And on the left, there are some trees, but it's, again, just a buffer between the cornfield next to me and to me. And photograph A shows the limit of the east variance. That building is probably within a half a meter of the requested zone, so you can see there's no trees there.
Okay.
I think,
I was going to say, I'm going to motion to approve this with just condition 1 and removing condition 2 and 3.
Okay,
second that.
seconded by Nick, all in favor? Opposed?
Seeing none?
Seeing none, motion carried, application.
Thank you very much.
You want your pictures back, or do you want them up front?
I want 1 copy, please. Thank you.
Have you got all?
Yeah, there's just 2, right?
You're good.
Okay. All right, we're all set for the next file, so we're hearing A2495 for 209 Fox Ridge Drive in Ancaster. Are there any members of the public who wish to provide comments in person? Please make yourself known.
I'm the owner and I'm here online.
Okay, we have no members of the public who wish to provide comments in person, Mr. Chair.
And my parents are representing me there. They should be there because I wasn't sure if I would be able to connect.
Okay, so there is somebody representing the owner in person, and then there's
Yes.
somebody, the owner is virtual.
Is there someone here? Oh, no one in person, okay. Okay, go ahead, sorry. Did you have any questions?
Are you asking me? Or
Yes.
okay, no, I just want to verify. It says in the notice of a public hearing that it's a hearing for a minimum rear yard of 8.5 shall be permitted to the deck structure. It's not a deck structure; it's actually a patio, and we are trying to build a little like roof above a part of this patio. It will be not closed on the side, so this is just a roof on 2 posts and 2 other corners will be attached to the house. And we are asking for minor variances because the distance between the end of the roof and the fence is 7.5 meters, and by law require 10 meters. I could see that, like in the variance, somebody put 4.5 meters shall be permitted for the stair structure. I don't understand. Is it something associated with our request? Because the only thing we kind of requested is to allow us 8.5 meters instead of 10.
So the minimum rear yard of 8.4 meters for the deck?
8.5, yeah, instead of 10.
Yep, that's the only variance. Committee?
I'm going to motion to approve this with the variance read, minimum rear yard of 8.5 meters shall be permitted to the deck structure instead of the minimum 10-meter rear yard required.
Sorry, zoning staff had made a request to amend the variance to
That's the one I read.
8.4. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So can you please explain to me what is 8.4? What does it mean?
So that's the distance from the structure to the rear yard. That is what the motion on the floor.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a seconder?
Second that.
All in favor? Opposed?
Seeing none?
Motion carried, application approved.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, we're all set for the next file. We're hearing A2492 for 189 Loyman Avenue in Ancaster. Are there any members of the public who wish to provide comments for this file? Please make yourself known. As we do not have anyone present in person, we do have Todd Gapunchko registered to speak virtually. If you could please unmute your microphone and provide your comments.
Hi there. Sorry. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm a neighbor. And I'm just wondering if there's been a permit granted for the building of the structure for the garage that's being built.
Okay, are those your only comments?
Yeah, and I just say that, you know, I'm opposed to the building, and that it is a workshop of sorts that is being built, and it's loud, and it's not nice to look at. It's big, and I'm not sure if we're talking about a variance or if we're actually talking about a permit to build the building, which is pretty much 80% complete anyhow.
If I may, what we're hearing today is a variance. And my guess would be that through the building permit process, a variance has come about. And so that's what we're here today to hear is one variance.
I see. Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Okay.
All right, I have no one else registered. Thank you. Yeah, I'm just getting to it. So would the owner please come forward to the microphone if you're here in person?
Mayor Meeting, the owner of the 189 Loyman Avenue.
And I'm in front of you to...
Sorry, could you just speak into
Oh,
the
sure.
microphone? Thank you.
And I'm here in front of you to ask for the approval of the variance to distance to the back of the property, which is supposed to be 7.5 meter, and it's now 6.5. The explanation is because when I was asking about the distance, like 10 years ago, the bylaw was saying like 7 meters and 1 meter to the neighbor, this guy, and now it's 1.5 and 7.5 meters. So that is like the variance from the bylaw. So that's the reason.
Okay. You don't hire any employees or whatever?
No, it's
just yourself?
It's just my shop, so like garage for the.
Okay. Committee?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion made by Mel, is there a seconder?
Sorry, was that with the conditions? or
With the conditions,
With the
yes.
conditions? Okay, thank you.
Call for seconder. Sebastian?
Sebastian.
All in favor? Opposed?
Seeing none?
Motion carried, application approved.
Thank you.
We did have a break scheduled at this time. We are almost at the time we were supposed to reconvene. Do the committee members want 5 minutes? Longer, less?
Okay, 10?
Yes, please, 5 minutes, please.
5 minutes? Okay, we'll do 5 minutes, so we'll reconvene at 2:18. All right, we all set? All right, so we're hearing A2494 for 5 Idred Road in Flamborough. Are there any members of the public who wish to provide comments? Please make yourself known. Seeing none, would the agent for the file please come forward to the microphone or turn on your microphone if you're attending virtually?
Good afternoon. I'm Christine Brown, and I am the agent.
Yes, welcome. Okay, go ahead. Did you have any comments on the application or?
I read over the staff report, and everything looks to be good. I don't really have any comments on it.
Okay. Does the committee have any questions or concerns with this application?
Make a motion to approve the application.
Moved by Donna, seconded by Nick.
Second that.
All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion carried, application approved.
Thank you.
All right, and then for the record, the file for B2426 was tabled to June 25th and will not be heard, so our next file is at 225.
Do we have to make a motion on that one to be tabled or not? No? Okay.
right, we are all set for the next file. So we are hearing B 22-133 and HMB 22-133 and A 2493 for 14 Belvedere Avenue in Hamilton. Are there any members of the public present in person who wish to provide comments? Please make yourself known. All right, so if you can, those members who wish to provide comments, if you can come forward, and there should be 2 people there, and if you have a representative who's speaking on your behalf, they can speak first, and then if anybody has any additional information that you would like to provide, or if you would just like to have your name entered into the record. Pardon me? No, I was just, if everybody's going to say the same thing, then that's one thing. So we'll have the first person come forward to the microphone, and you can provide your comments, and then the next person can come and sit at that kind of table back there, and then we'll just do that for however many people wish to speak.
So I'll be making reference to the letter that we filed on June 7th, and if we can have that ready to go up on screen. It begins at page 7 of the community comment document. And with that, I'll begin. My name is Alex Lusty, and I'm a planning lawyer at Davies Howe. Our address is 425 Adelaide Street West, the 10th floor, Toronto, Ontario, M5V 3C1. I'm appearing on behalf of Mrs. D. Silvestro, whose son Tony is with me here today. And Mrs. D. Silvestro is the owner of 7 Harborview Lane, which is directly west of 14 Belvedere Avenue. And I just plan to highlight some of the concerns in our letter. We're on page 1 here, that's good. I think the committee should be concerned about the state of this application. There's no architectural plans. There's no approved EIS. There's no landscaping or vegetation plans which might show where screening is proposed. We don't know if there's a mutual access agreement or about the drainage agreement. There's no agreement removing harm or potential removal of trees on other people's property, like Mrs. D. Silvestro's lands. There's not even consensus about the required zoning relief, and the notice says as much. But the trouble is, further information tabling the application won't help this fundamentally bad proposal. I'd like to turn to the next page, towards the bottom, and there's a circle in white surrounding 2 trees, 227 and 228. These are larger trees on the property. They're healthy. They have good trunk integrity. They have good canopy structure and canopy vigor, and all that's set out in the tree preservation plan. The only reason they're being proposed to be removed is because of a conflict with home locations. And I'd submit that a less aggressive development proposal likely wouldn't require removal of those trees. If we could turn to the next page, there's another graphic. And you'll see a row of trees with green dots, N1 to N5. And those are all on Mrs. D. Silvestro's property on the left-hand side of that boundary line. There's no discussion about the impacts of trees N1 to N4 in the tree preservation plan. There's an assumption in that plan that there will be an agreement put in place around preservation of those trees, but our client has never been contacted. And I want to make something very clear. There's no agreement about trees. We turn to the next page. You can see we've provided some samples of typical logging patterns in the general area. It's a broader area because there's not that many corners like this, but none of them have extended driveways like what's being proposed here. They all front to the street. And there's a comparison in the materials to other lots along Bulls Lane or Harborview Lane, but I just don't think that's fair. And that's because Bulls Lane, for example, is actually deemed to be a street in the bylaw 05200. It's just come through, but it's in there and it's considered a street. It's a completely different situation. What'll end up happening with the lot configuration that's being proposed is you're going to end up having Lot 2 be dependent on Lot 3 for access. And I'll tell you, my firm gets a call monthly about situations like that where a neighbor hasn't held up their end of the bargain with the maintenance costs, the repair costs, snow removal. Maybe someone's blocking the driveway out of spite. And it might be okay for a while, but eventually these things tend to break down in my experience. And just while we're here on the concept of lot configuration, there was a last minute change to Lot 2 to give it 4 meters of frontage out on Belvedere, presumably so services can be run through there. Won't be access over that little leg, but the state of the application, I mean, when I looked at the bylaw, you've got a minimum frontage requirement of 4.5 meters under section 4.3A that hasn't been addressed in the variances, nowhere to be found. So whether or not it would comply, you've got those conditions about variances complying and how do you prove that, right? There's requirement for a survey. You can't do a survey until something's built. It just doesn't make much sense to me. I'm going to move to the variance about rear and front lot lines. So there's a variance to orient the rear lot lines of the proposal to the north. And what that variance does is it hides a crucial impact on Mrs. Di Silvestro. Because instead of a 7.5 meter rear yard that you would have if the lots were street oriented and had a typical rear yard situation, Lot 3, which is the furthest over and next to Mrs. Di Silvestro's property, is going to have a side yard of 1.2 meters. That's not talked about in the application materials. And just because that type of impact is defined away through the variances, it doesn't remove the negative impacts on Mrs. Di Silvestro from the tree problem, right, on her own property, the tree removals on this property, having built form in a location that's much closer than it would normally be at 1.2 meters potentially. And the overlook would be reduced if the rear yard setback were more traditional, right? Because you'd have more space. So in conclusion, given my comments, we're asking that the committee refuse the applications. It's my submission that it's just not compatible with its surroundings, that it's an overdevelopment of a lot that might be able to support 3 homes and 3 lots. And none of the variances can be considered minor. They can't be considered appropriate for the use and development of the land. And in my submission, they don't meet the general intent and purpose of the official plan or the zoning bylaw. And subject to any questions that the committee may have, that's all I had intended to say.
Does the committee have any questions at this time? Okay, thank you.
Okay, if the next interested party could please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is William Mogish. I am resident at 32 Belvedere. 32 Belvedere is immediately beside the proposed Lot 4. That's just for reference. Now, I have submitted a whole letter on this, but initially it's, they don't have an accepted EIS study in place. The lot clearances from the east and west property lines, what would that be from the retaining walls that were there? We're not talking flat land, we're talking structured retaining walls to protect the integrity of existing houses. Unless you go to something like 3 meter horizontal for every meter vertical, a 1.2 meter side property is really not going to protect those properties. The other thing is the configuration of the proposed housing envelopes on those lots twists the references for front, side, rear. If we were to take the point of the house that is aimed at Belvedere, lot 4, with a 9-meter width, when you take off the 1.2 side clearances, you finish up with a house that's 6.4 meters wide. That's like 2 bowling alley lanes that are going to be, and the lot's 150 feet deep, so that's going to be rather difficult to live with. You have lot 5. If lot 5 is going to provide the access to lot 3 at the back, you're finishing up with a driveway that's approximately 50 meters long. But on that envelope, there's no rear. All you have is the side, and then the other side is effectively the brow, where you've got a 10-meter buffer zone. And you have to have at least that much to protect the actual face of the escarpment. Then they have, lot 2 has to share that driveway without a common agreement. Does that mean that that lot 5 is going to be used to provide common services to these lots that touch on that line? So, for example, the sewers from lot 5 or lot 3 are going to have to go 50 meters to get to the street. From the soil study that was there, the average soil depth before you have to dig into the bedrock is 0.45 to 0.6 meters. That's not much more than knee deep. And if you're going to try and run services there, you're going to have to excavate right through that into the shell of the escarpment. If you look around the houses in that neighborhood, they're all built above that to protect that level. That's why they have the retaining walls. In the one study that was done there, they took the manhole on Belvedere and used that as a reference mark of 100. And then they shot levels from there. Everything was less than that. There was no high point. So the whole development there is in a dish. So you're going to start elevating that up. It's going to be very, very disruptive to the neighborhood. When they take out the trees that they're talking about taking out 6 very mature trees that have drip lines ranging from 6 to 8 meters. They're going to look at replacing them on a 1-to-1 basis. So we're talking about trees that probably, I haven't measured it, but probably have a girth of 40 inches plus. And with a 1-to-1 ratio, we can replace them with a 4-inch trunk tree. The amount of moisture that those trees can absorb is greatly reduced. In my submission, I'm using a combination of irrigation information and such. 25 meters of rain on that area would be 80,000 liters of water with nothing to absorb it, because most of that land is going to be impermeable with roofs, driveways. And if you disregard that 10-meter buffer zone, you can't just dump the water there. So where's this 80,000 liters of water going to go? It's going to flood the neighborhood. Or add a new waterfall to the escarpment. There's only, 28 of them now? We need another one. Right where we have just finished restoring the escarpment because of collapses. The other thing I have here is the wellhead that's there. There's been no mention about how that wellhead is going to be dealt with. That wellhead was the primary sole source of water to the original 14 Bellevue house. So there is water there, or there was before they cut the escarpment, but nobody has determined what's going on with it. It's not been addressed. The Minister of the Environment has very specific requirements to take a wellhead out of service that have not been complied with. That's basically what I had to say. And for these reasons, the proposal that's been put forward so far, I don't think has well thought out and is meaningful to protect both the city and the neighborhood. Questions?
Committee?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Dave Penner, 60 Belvedere, and thanks everyone for their comments before. Tend to agree with most of what they said, but I would like to add to Ms. Silvestro's representatives' points. The one missing thing we have here is the geography of this proposed land that's going to be severed. We're talking about right on top of where the escarpment gate buckled a year ago. We all know what that has probably affected everybody in this room. This is not just our neighborhood issue. This is more of a city issue. It deals with lots of transportation, rerouting, and all things of that nature. The fear that many of us have who are in the area and more cognizant of the situation that are going on are what kind of digging is going to be happening and how will that have a downstream effect with the crumbling nature of the escarpment right now. What repairs might need to be, we need to forecast in the future for those types of, in my opinion, eventualities. I don't have any of the technical nature that the other two have, but the impact on the escarpment and the over $5 million that the city had to repair it recently is got to be top of mind, and I hope the committee understands where we're coming from on that, and I thank you for your time and listening.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public present who wish to provide comments? Please make yourself known. We had one person who registered to speak virtually. If Patty Duarte is present, please unmute yourself. Sorry, are you Patty? Oh, okay.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Patty Duarte, and I live at 1 Belvedere Avenue, which is directly across from this location. I've lived there for almost 40 years. So I've seen a lot of changes in the neighborhood, and this is one that I am not in favor of, in support of what you've heard also today. There was a home built beside me at 166 Concession, which did extensive damage to my sewer line where I had to replace it at my cost because the city denied to get involved in that. I'm also nervous about the parking issues in regards to having 4 homes there, if they are going to be 4 individual homes. It's my understanding that they could have more than, they can have up to 4 families in each home. So if you do the math of the number of cars, that could be a potential of an average of 2 per home. That could be over 30 cars. We've had extensive high speed on the bend. It's not safe for parking on the bend. And it also, what was I going to say? Sorry. Let me just look at my notes. We've had numerous accidents, and I think with the added addition of those homes, we're just looking for more. We haven't had a fatality yet, not to me that can happen, because we've had extensive damage to homes in the area due to high traffic and excessive traffic on that area. I'm concerned about the environmental impact, as was mentioned, the existing well. When Bellevue did come down, it was almost like it just went in the ground and it was covered over. All that excess was not removed by the previous owner. So again, I'm concerned about in regards to the blasting or the jackhammering and proposed of the properties. And of course, I'm concerned about the Claremont access. We've all witnessed extensive repairs done to that, and I think that this building envelopes might bring that back, and which would just not impact us in the area. It will also impact our city, because we had to close that access down for quite a long time. It's all in my notes here, so if you wanted to reread those, then that's all I have. Any questions?
Thank you for your comments.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Are there any members of the public present who wish to provide comments? Last call. Okay. Are there any other members present who wish to provide comments? Please come forward.
Hi, I'm Betsy D. I live at 6 Belvedere Avenue, and I submitted in writing a request for a deferral so that we could consult with experts who know what it is we face, what the impact of these developments might be. But I'm hearing today, I think there are bigger issues than can be resolved in a 30-day deferral. I do want to be clear that we as a community are very much not opposed to a development. We welcome new neighbors. We just are opposed to an overdevelopment. That's my comment for today. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other members of the public who wish to provide comments, would the agent please come forward to the microphone? I believe they're in person, yeah.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members committee. My name is Franz Kleiphofer. I'm a principal and registered professional with AJ Clark and Associates. With my colleague James Thomas, who's also a planner at our office, we'll be making a presentation very shortly. And Ken Glasenberg, who is also an EIS consultant, has done extensive work throughout the city. He's a past member of ESAG at the city, which is the environmental committee that makes the judgment on such applications, mostly around planned subdivisions, these types of things. With me today are the Colaleo family. That is 4 members of the same family. Each one of them is hoping to occupy the future single-family dwelling on each of these lots. Perhaps you could wave, Benny and family. With us here today. First thing I'd like to do is just address some of the comments regarding the environmental impact statement. And as you can see, we brought our environmental consultant with us to speak specifically to the matters raised. Ken, it's all yours. I believe there is a presentation, Jamila, that Ken may want to refer to.
Hello. I am Ken Glassbergen. I'm a principal at Geoprocess Research Associates. My firm did both the environmental impact statement and the tree preservation plan. I'm sure the committee has seen the comments regarding the environmental impact statement, and I'm here just to address that. First, I just want to put a little bit of context from an environmental perspective of this site. The environmental impact statement, EIS, was triggered by its location adjacent to a core area feature as per the Schedule B on the Hamilton official plan. That core area is associated with the Hamilton Escarpment ESA, or environmentally sensitive area, and is also associated with the geological form of the Niagara Escarpment. You can actually see there's a picture on the screen of the ESA, the core area immediately adjacent or north of the subject property. And I think it's important to note, as you can see, there's the property, the rear yard up there, and then there's the Claremont access. You can just see it at the bottom of the picture. This portion of the ESA was recently, I think everybody's familiar with all the work that was done on the Claremont Express. The vegetation that was associated with the ESA in this area was removed for those works. As you can see, there's essentially no vegetation left. The rock was scraped back, so there's no soil matrix or anything left. So the reestablish of vegetation is likely not going to happen in the near future. The only vegetation that still exists, you can see there's a ledge that's about 2 meters wide that has a number of trees and shrubs on it, predominantly Norway maple, black locust, and European buckthorn, which are essentially non-native or invasive species. So the site itself is manicured lawn. There are no natural heritage, what we call communities on this property or really even adjacent to it. So that's just sort of the context of what this site is from a natural heritage perspective. So there's not a lot from an environmental, like an ecological perspective happening here. The comments coming from the city natural heritage planner wasn't supportive of the EIS. Predominantly, the comments said that the policies of the UHOP are not met through the EIS. I'm just going to run through some of the policies that were quoted as sort of not being present or not being satisfied by the EIS. The policies under the UHOP says if we have a core area, we have to demonstrate that there's no negative impact to that feature. That is what the EIS has done. Again, just in the context, there are really no natural heritage features to be impacted by this proposal. And essentially, the work that was done on the Claremont access lately is going to overshadow any impact that potentially could ever occur from the development of this site. Speaking to the policies in the UHOP regarding vegetated protection zones, the official plan presents a number of features and setbacks that are recommended to those features. A landform feature isn't actually listed there. The closest we can come to within the official plan is a woodland, even though we don't really have a woodland associated with this application. But that within the official plan asks for a 10-meter setback, which is what this application is providing. This application is providing a 10-meter vegetated protection zone. The vegetation that exists within that 10 meters will be retained as it is and will be augmented with trees. As was mentioned before, there will be tree planting to offset for tree removal. That 10 meters was established with the City of Hamilton planner, natural heritage planner, at least the core area. We staked it in September, and the 10-meter setback is established from the surveyed line of that, and then the rear yards of the houses are established beyond the 10 meters. So there's a fence along that 10 meters that separates the VPZ from the rear yards. So in that way, those rear yards are protected. And in the context of the larger neighborhood as well, there are no other vegetation protection zones of the residential homes that are up against the mountain brow. So this will be essentially almost within the city of Hamilton, one of the only residential lots that even have this naturalized 10-meter setback. I mean, if you look to the east, there's a pools within that 10-meter setback. So in that context, to me, this meets the official plan requirement for a 10-meter setback. The plantings will be native species as per the UHOP, the Hamilton official plan. And let me just make sure. Yes, that covers, yeah. So that, I think, was the biggest comments regarding policy as far as I know. And then there was another comment about having the VPZ, or the vegetation protection zone, should be in a single lot. I'm not familiar with any policy within any natural heritage policy that says the vegetated protection zone needs to be in a single lot. I'm not going to speak to try to keep it kind of brief here. But some of the other comments were related to the timing of one of the vegetation assessments. We did 3. One was done in November, which admittedly is outside the typical fall vegetation zone of September to October. However, again, I just want to state it's a lawn. It's a manicured site. The fact that one of the 3 assessments, and the terms of reference only required 2, we did 3, is outside of that timing, has no impact really on, or has any impact on the characterization of the natural features on the property. Again, it's lawn. The trees on the property are predominantly black locust, again, an invasive species. Typically, we try to avoid that species. We wouldn't never plant it. And Manitoba maple, again, trees that are not considered an asset to the ecology of the escarpment. Again, there was the requirement for plantings. In total, very few trees are coming down. Recognize some of them are mature, but there will be a number of trees planted on the property, both within the lots and within the vegetated protection zone. I think that I'll leave it there. If the committee has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions from the committee?
Okay, thank you.
As
I do
a
have one
planning,
question that perhaps Ken can clarify. There was a comment about why a butternut tree study was not completed. Perhaps you can elaborate on that very quickly.
Yes, our terms of reference and typically states if there are butternut on the site, found on the site, we would do a butternut hazard tree assessment or butternut assessment. There were no butternut found on the site, therefore an assessment is not needed as per our terms of reference.
Thank you, Ken. Maybe you can hold by here. James just has a brief presentation on the rest of the matters brought forward by staff.
Jim, if you wouldn't mind just pulling up the presentation for us real quickly, thank you. Good afternoon, committee members. Thank you for your patience in hearing all the concerns regarding this file. I'd just like to submit our own presentation to discuss the project fully from its previous application to where we are now, and I appreciate the time offered to us. I'll try to do my best to get through this as quickly as possible. Next slide. First, I want to address an item that was referenced by the zoning review but was not included as a requested variance. We will need to ensure that variance 4, requested in the revised submission, is added to the decision. And this variance shall read here as shown, and the variance merely implements the driveway, the mutual shared driveway, as proposed in easement of Lot 3, which is Part 5 of the plans. Next slide. Currently, the lands are 2 incredibly large and irregularly shaped residential lots. Next slide, please. The lands are vacant, primarily covered by lawn and weeds with several mature trees. Next slide. We've already seen this guy. It's drone imagery showing the current conditions of the significant woodland core area north adjacent to the subject lands. And as Ken Glassbergen already mentioned, this core area was entirely scraped by the city and the repairs required along the Claremont access. This is the woodland now. Next slide. Here's the concept of the initial severance submission showing 4 lots with equal frontage along Belvedere. It should be noted that development planning, transportation planning, and development engineering were generally supportive of conditional approval, but requested a tabling to acquire several supportive studies. This application has provided those studies, has utilized those studies. It addresses neighborhood concerns, and following meetings with city staff, the concept sketch was amended to the one you see before you today. Next slide. Planning staff highlight the proposal's ability to be comparable, compatible, and well integrated with the neighborhood. With the initial submission, Natural Heritage requested an EIS and a tree protection plan. Those have been provided, all in support of the development. The Niagara Escarpment Commission, NEC, requested a concept plan, geotechnical assessment, and slope stability assessment, and preliminary vegetative protection plan. And all of those have been provided as per the NEC's current comments regarding the application. Next slide. NEC staff have reviewed the additional information provided and are satisfied that the development will not negatively impact steep slopes, scenic resources, or natural heritage resources. NEC staff have no further concerns, subject to development proceeding in accordance with the recommendations of the studies undertaken. Next slide. Now, as mentioned, AJ Clark and Associates hosted a virtual neighborhood meeting on April 17, 2023, to meet with residents and discuss the proposed development. And this was not required. We met in good faith with them just to explain what was happening, explain the studies and the planning process required to move forward. And aside from the items that could be addressed within the studies, several primary and repeated concerns were brought forward. Concerns regarding building heights, concern for parking and the number of accesses created with respect to visibility and safety, and proposed density was too high and not in keeping with the neighborhood. Next slide. Now, regarding heights, 4 single detached dwellings are proposed and are intended to be built within the provisions of the applicable zoning bylaw. If any additional height is desired, a separate minor variance application would be required, which would then be decided by this committee, and currently 11 meters are permitted within 2 stories. Regarding parking and access, the revised plans have reduced the number of driveways, and parking would need to comply with zoning bylaw, although our clients will very likely be providing more than the required parking with their private garages. It must be noted that this development has the most optimal view of both Concession and Belvedere when pulling into the right-of-way, and it is located at a point where the roads meet. So you can see down Concession and you can see down Belvedere at the end of your driveway. Next slide. Regarding density, the proposed density of the development will create 12.2 units per hectare, which is both below the density of Belvedere Avenue, as shown here. Next slide. And it is also well below the density of the adjacent lots along Belvedere, as evidenced in the density mapping that was provided in the submission cover letter. Next slide. Our current submission has provided a vegetative protective zone, seen here in yellow, with dimensions as agreed upon by City's Natural Heritage and the environmental consultants from GeoProcess. The area will be fenced off, left to naturalize, besides plantings that will be part of compensation. It must be noted that this development will provide natural heritage protections that are not seen along most of the escarpment in Hamilton, including adjacent lots that have built in-ground pools within the zone at the crest of the escarpment to the east there. Next slide. Pulled back, you can see how development has been oriented, with the escarpment acting as the rear lot line, with many developments located within 10 meters of the escarpment edge highlighted in orange. Subject lands are highlighted in red. Further, note how many of the lots abutting the escarpment utilize private roads for access. Now, Alex Lusty did mention that Bulls Lane is proposed to be brought forward as a road. That bylaw is not yet in force and effect, so that is not the case. The proposed development would seem to be in keeping with the neighborhood design. Next slide. Please see the email here with Hamilton Zoning Review confirming that the existing lots, the lot line abutting the escarpment is the farthest from the front lot line abutting Belvedere. This means currently the escarpment edge lot line is the rear lot line as interpreted by the city. The variance requested is just confirming this is carried forward following severance so that everyone can be on the same page and there's no further diversification of or thought about any other lot lines being the rear lot line. This will create orderly development of 3 dwellings, all facing the same way towards the city of Hamilton downtown. Next slide. Now here's the currently proposed severance before you today. We have highlighted the vegetative buffer, part 5, which is to be a vehicular access easement for lot 2 and lot 3, with the lot widths required to implement the safe and orderly design. Now the variances requested are simply to implement the lot fabric shown here. As I said, to ensure clarity of the defined rear yard following severance and to create orderly development, we want to make sure that the escarpment edge will continue to be the rear lot line for lots 1 to 3. This follows a pattern of development as we saw along the escarpment. A 6-meter lot width variance is being requested to facilitate the required 4.5 meter wide driveway for 2-way access, along with a 0.75 meter setback for landscaping on either side of that. A 4-meter lot width is being requested to provide Lot 2 with the required frontage on Belvedere for utility access to Belvedere. No driveway is proposed here, and to do so, a separate variance again would be required prior to obtaining any building permit. A 9-meter lot width has been proposed for Lot 4, and as per city staff comments, they agree that this lot will be sufficient in size to accommodate a single detached dwelling that is compatible with the neighborhood. Now, 6.4 meters, as mentioned by the resident William, I couldn't catch this last time, I apologize, sir, mentioned that 6.4 meters is very small. Let's calculate that. That's about 21 feet wide. And again, building envelopes don't mean that that is exactly where the building is going. One last variance must also be included to facilitate the proposed mutual driveway regarding front yard landscaping requirements, reducing Lot 3's front yard landscaping to 20%. And that's just to facilitate the irregular lot shape and having that shared driveway run through. Now, this design provides for 3 driveways, the maximum that was requested by the neighborhood in their comments and their neighborhood meeting. Creating this mutual driveway also promotes urban design principles, specifically policy B3391, which states joint access driveways shall be considered between adjacent sites to minimize disruption of the public sidewalk, maximize the areas available for landscaping, and minimize expanses of pavement. Next slide, please. I'm not going to read all that, don't worry. Based on the current plans provided, staff departments provided updated comments. Development planning is satisfied that the lots are suitable for the use and the proper and orderly development of the land. Development planning also state the general intent of the bylaw is maintained. The reduction in proposed driveways is also in good planning, and that the variances are minor in nature and desirable for the development, as no negative impacts are anticipated to the subject site or surrounding area, meeting all 4 tests of a minor variance. Development planning is further supportive of the development, but due to natural heritage comments, which have been addressed by Mr. Glassbergen, they have been recommending tabling the application. As Mr. Glassbergen has already attested to those comments, I don't think deferring this is going to change anything for the EIS. It should be accepted as is. Next slide. As mentioned, the NEC has no further concerns following the review of the provided concept plan, geotechnical report, and environmental impact statement. Both building engineering and transportation planning have no concerns. Forestry recommends conditional approval with protection of a TMP providing evidence of the street tree protection. Again, this street tree that is located on the lands is going to be protected as per the provided TPP. We have no desire to get anywhere within that drip line. Driveways will be put outside of that. As discussed already, GeoProcess has provided committee with a rebuttal to Melissa Kitty's natural heritage comments. Development engineering comments were based on the 3 frontage plan that was previously proposed. The development before you has addressed this. Concern regarding sewer services available. Well, this can be addressed through the added conditions of a joint external works agreement and consent agreement with a stipulation ensuring compliance with MECP requirements. By adding these conditions, the application will be required to provide plans showing sufficient evidence that the lots can be appropriately and safely serviced. These plans must be approved by city engineering before the proposed lots can be registered and developed. That means if it cannot provide safe and sufficient wastewater and stormwater management controls, this development will never happen and the lots will not be created. Next slide. There have been concerns raised in the public comments pertaining to the proposed easement in favor of Lot 2 over Lot 3. These lots are being created for immediate family members, and issues of maintenance would be a legal and family matter. The easement will reduce the required vehicular accesses. Further, transportation has no comments with the driveways proposed so long as the easement is registered. This is included as a condition. Snow would need to be cleared away just like any other large driveway in the city, and waste would still be required to be brought to the curb and not be the responsibility of the owner. It's not going to need private waste pickup. Lastly, as mentioned previously, OP policy B3391 stating considering mutual driveways to reduce impacts. Next slide. As for intended use, what ifs have been utilized to present committee with the idea that this would be developed into four fourplexes, so let me put that to rest. The site is currently zoned C District in Hamilton zoning bylaw 6593, and as per Part 3B of the In Force and Effect bylaw 22195, this zone only permits single and semi-detached and street townhouse dwellings. 4 units would only be permitted through conversions of residential structures existing prior to 2022. Triplexes and fourplexes are not permitted. However, triplexes and fourplexes are proposed to be included in R1 zones, and the subject lands are proposed to be included in the city-initiated and citywide rezoning amendment to R1. This bylaw was reviewed and unanimously approved by City Council to be the future direction for land use planning in Hamilton, but this is currently held in appeals. I want to reiterate once more that the application intends to facilitate 4 single detached dwellings for members of the applicant's immediate family. Next slide. Further, if this application is not approved and the city-initiated and council-approved bylaws 24051 and 24052 regarding new residential zones and parking come into effect, the applicant could sell the lands to a developer who could build 2 fourplexes with far greater building envelopes and massing than the proposed, provide no vegetative protective zone, rip out every tree on the lands without any permits required, and provide no parking as of right. So the application before you is much less in its impact than what is as of right permitted once those bylaws come into enforce and effect. Next slide. To ensure the development can proceed safely and appropriately, we recommend adding multiple conditions regarding engineering with Mr. Panofsky's approval. The first will be to implement the combined external works and consent agreement with the city. The second will ensure services are extended with approvals from the provincial ministry. These comments are copied and pasted from the previously proposed submission last year. And without meeting these requirements, the proposed development cannot proceed. Next slide. We'd also request that condition 13 be removed, but as per Ken Glassbergen's comments, we will retain condition 13 as plantings are proposed to go into that vegetative protection zone, so you can just move past this one. In conclusion, the proposed severance application before you has provided the supporting materials requested from the initial submission. A supplementary, not required neighborhood meeting was held to discuss the development and hear their concerns and comments. Those concerns and comments have been addressed through the revised plans and the supplied supporting studies. The proposed development will facilitate the construction of 4 single detached dwellings for immediate members of the Coleo family. This represents a density of 12.2 units per hectare, which is still lower than the neighborhood and well below the 60 units per hectare permitted within the official plan. Any future structures proposed will be required to meet the applicable zoning bylaw prior to receiving any permits. Any plans that do not comply with the bylaws must seek additional variances to be cited by this committee. The proposed development, as described in the submitted cover letter and comments provided by development planning, has been shown to be in good planning. This application will merely create the lots proposed for single detached dwellings and the variances associated due to the irregular shape of the subject lands. The application has sufficient regard for the matters listed under Section 5124 of the Planning Act, represent good planning, and should be approved with the amended conditions as described. Thank you.
Thank you, James. That was a fine presentation. In fact, I don't really know I have much else to add, with the exception of maybe a couple of quick comments here into some of the, to respond to some of the comments we've heard today. Very thorough, James. Thank you. I guess one of the things that I would note is in my friend's comments regarding from Davies Howe. One of the things that was noted was tree removal and overdevelopment. I note the 2 trees that my friend referred to are 2 invasive species, a Norway maple and a black locust. You just heard Mr. Glazenberger speak specifically to that, so I don't think that that is a great loss to the city of Hamilton. No agreement about the protection of trees. I've never heard of such an agreement in this sort of instance. I've presented to this committee for the better part of 20 years now, and I don't think we move forward with such agreements. What we do have are preliminary tree protection plans, such as what you've seen today, and tree protection plans that are required via condition 11 of the proposed conditions of approval, which will be completed and will define exactly how those trees are to be protected. I'd note for the record, none of these are boundary trees. That's an important element to remember here. In regard to lot configuration and how these lots front, I think my friend showed a series of diagrams, all of which showed different parts of the neighborhood, all of which showed an inside corner. What I think that that particular graphic failed to show was the most pertinent feature on the property, which is the Niagara Escarpment. We showed you a plan earlier. Every single lot along the escarpment within this neighborhood, not most, every single lot, rear lots directly onto the escarpment. I think we all understand why that is the case, because that is the feature that people most likely want to address. And Jamila, if it's at all possible, I think it's important to show that one graphic that we had that showed the overall neighborhood and the alignment along the top of the escarpment. Be within our presentation? No worries. Yeah, no worries. So I think if we just scroll down, I think it's a few slides down. Keep going. There, you just went past it. One more. Okay, here we go. So this is an excellent graphic. I would suggest that this is more representative of the character of the lots, simply because each of what you're seeing here are in fact escarpment lots, not lots interior to the neighborhood. I don't know what that kind of a comparison is. I don't think it's a really fair comparison when we're looking at a feature such as that which dominates the city. That is the essential feature and character that defines these lots. That is why these lots are rear lotted. And I would note that if you look at one lot there, along Bulls Lane, that you'll see is the large lot that then comes out with a bit of a hockey stick on the end. It looks remarkably similar to what we're proposing. The difference is, ours is one property deep. That is consistent with the character of the neighborhood. We also had some comments regarding the masking of lot lines. We've heard from specifically the zoning department that has provided directed interpretation as to where the existing lot line is right now. And in fact, that lot line is the lot line of the Niagara Escarpment, exactly as is being proposed through this application. The minor variances that are being proposed are specifically to provide clarity on where those lot lines are, for this committee to be fully transparent and to avoid any confusion and misconceptions when a future building permit comes down the pipe. The other note regarding peer review, Mr. Lusty seems to think that he is the approval of all things that are submitted to the city, and that, in fact, a neighbor has the right to peer review a study that is submitted to the city. I'm of the opinion that city staff is well within their right to assess the validity of any submissions that are before them. And I've never heard of, through a minor variance application, a neighbor having the right to a peer review of a report. I don't think this committee has either. As I said, I've been here 20 years before, and I think you all know me quite well. And I think that that really brings me to the end of the presentation. Mr. Chair, we'd be happy to answer any questions your committee may have.
Does the committee have any questions? Any concerns?
Yes, but I'd like the engineering is still declaring denial on that. Can we hear from the engineering, development engineering in response to that? Is somebody here from that?
We don't currently have any development engineering staff here.
For what it is worth, we did work quite closely with development engineering and planning on this specific provision, and that is why the frontage was added onto Lot 2. The frontage is added onto Lot 2 to satisfy that one policy that was brought forward by engineering. Servicing can now be brought through that site, so you have independent services on each piece of property. So along with that, we've also included the condition that Mr. Thomas referred to that was included in the original approval or recommendation for approval from engineering, which speaks to confirmation from the MECP about the small extension of that combined sewer in that particular instance. So that will satisfy the requirement, and certainly engineering's concerns will have to be addressed before we could advance this application, or advance the approval, I should say.
That answers that.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I make a motion to approve the application with the proposed conditions and the two that this gentleman here has added to that.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's a motion to approve the consent application and the minor variance application. And let me just double check.
Normally at the beginning of the session is allowed for any neighbors, and understand that that was your chance to state your statements and your questions. And so we heard your proposal at that time, and now we've heard the applicant and the agent.
Things that come up that I didn't have a chance to address. That's why in administrative law, there's a lot of law.
I think this follows Robert's rules, actually, if I understand correctly, Mr. Chair.
Jamila?
So it's at the discretion of the chair. We can hear the rebuttal, or we can proceed with the decision.
So wishes of the committee.
I think we've heard enough, and I respect the committee members' motion.
Okay.
There's one condition in the letter.
Sorry, are we proceeding with the questioning of?
No, we're not.
Okay, thank you.
Floor is yours if you wish any further comments.
I have no further comments. I'm at the disposal of
There's a
committee.
motion on the
Okay.
floor.
Yes, so I just want to clarify what the motion is. So there was, so there's a motion to approve the consent applications with conditions. So there were conditions that were proposed in the comment package, and then there were conditions that were proposed by the agent present. So there was the 14 that were recommended by staff. There was an additional condition that was recommended by an interested party. And then there were 3 conditions that were recommended by the agent. So one for an external works agreement, one for a consent agreement, and one for a sanitary and sewer agreement. I think I missed that. Let me just double check.
Yeah, we do have them in the presentation there that would be very clear, but perhaps James can speak to them specifically.
Could we please hear these extra conditions listed in an understandable manner?
We can do that for you, sir.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Through you, Mr. Chair.
21 of them.
Okay, so there were the conditions in the comment package. And so there was the 14 by staff, there was one condition, and then the additional ones. So I think it's combined into one condition there. So an external works agreement and consent agreement was one that was proposed. And then the third one was combined sanitary and storm sewer to the frontage.
I just want to state that these are,
Sorry, could you speak a little closer to the microphone?
I apologize, I just want to state that these are copy and pasted from the previous engineering comments from the last submission, the initial submission. So we're just utilizing the city development engineering's terminology in these conditions and adding them.
These are standard conditions issued by the engineering department. You'd be very familiar with that, Mr. Chair.
So you would consider those condition 15 and 16? Is that added, or are these your?
No, these would be added to the list.
To the list,
Yes.
which would make it 15 and 16?
Correct.
Okay, okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, my apologies.
Okay.
I'll
So is
second
that, sorry, just wait. So we're doing the motion for the consent, and then we'll do the motion for the variance separately? Is that
Okay.
okay? Or do you want to do them both together? I just need further clarification on the variances if we're doing it together.
I would do them all together.
Okay.
I'm sorry, does this motion include the condition from my last?
I'm just getting clarification on what the motion is. We also have staff who wish to speak, Mr. Chair.
Do they?
Yeah. Do you want, we've got a motion on the floor right now, so
I haven't asked for secondary.
you haven't asked for a secondary yet.
What, is planning available?
Yeah, planning staff are able to comment. We just have a motion on the floor.
Okay. I think I'd like to hear from planning before I ask for a seconder for that motion.
Okay.
Through the chair to the committee, the applicant is bringing forward past conditions from development engineering, and I just wanted to note that they also, through the past conditions on the previous application, did ask for a storm management brief. So I just wanted to raise that as well.
Mr. Chair, I can respond to that if you would like.
Yes.
Certainly. And certainly a storm management brief is something that's typically required through the consent agreement, which is to the satisfaction of the Director of Engineering. We're required to demonstrate how we adequately service and grade the property. So that is all encompassed within that particular condition.
Okay. I'll ask for a seconder for that motion.
Wait. Okay, so there were amended variances that were also requested. Could you clarify if those are the same? I think the ones that you showed were
Right, so
similar.
first, I want to make sure we get that driveway variance added in. So that's on the second page of the presentation.
The lot width was on lot 2. Is that right?
There's lot width, sorry.
Go ahead.
So I think it's number 3 that's listed there. A minimum lot width of 4 meters shall be permitted for lot 2. No, wait, landscaping.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a cluster here. But perhaps I can easily just line these up for you. So first and foremost, the variance for the driveway configuration is on page 2 of the presentation and describes the policies applicable to landscaped area in a front yard. Then you also need a variance for lot width for lot 2 to be 4 meters for the access of utilities. I'll need 6 meter width for lot 3, and that's to facilitate the driveway, and a 9 meter width for proposed lot 4 to be a 9 meter wide residential lot instead of 12. And to ensure that the escarpment is established as the rear lot line.
Just a minute. Okay, so do you have it consolidated somewhere in your presentation?
I have a list, just not with the actual legalese of each variance.
So the variances that were in the comment package that zoning staff had requested to be modified were notwithstanding the definition of a lot line in the rear in the former Hamilton zoning bylaws 6593, the rear lot lines for lots 1, 2, and 3 shall be the northernmost lot line adjacent to the Niagara Escarpment. A minimum lot width of 4 meters for lot 2 shall be permitted instead of the minimum required lot width of 12 meters, notwithstanding section 18, 14A, 14F, and section 18A, 14I, and 14I III, a front yard landscaping of 20% to facilitate the 4.5 meters mutual driveway over Part 5 shall be permitted instead of the required 50%. And then to 05200, a minimum lot width of 4 meters shall be permitted for Lot 2 instead of the minimum lot width of 12 meters. Does that match your list? Not in the same order, but
4 meters for lot 2,
4 meters for Lot 2.
6 meters for lot 3.
No, I don't have 6 meters for Lot 3.
Bring that to her, please, James.
That's that one. That's that. That's that. 9 meters for Lot 4. And front yard landscaping to 20%. Yes, okay. Just a minute and I'll write it up, if you bear with me, so that it can go on the board. Okay, so I believe this is what was requested by the applicant. There were also, so for the minor variances, there were requested amendments by zoning staff. I believe these are the requested amendments by the agent. Or there were the variances as listed on the notice of public hearing.
It just looks like there is insurance duplication for 05200 and 6593.
And that is totally acceptable, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right, you know what your motion is?
I just have a question. Are these amendments for HMB 22-133 or A 2493?
So these are the requested variance from the agent for A 2493.
Okay. All right. Okay, now there's also, does that include from the gentleman that spoke on behalf of the residents?
So there was an additional condition for the consent application.
That's okay.
That for.
Okay, so that's.
Give me a minute, I can find it.
That's HMB 22-133.
That's correct.
And Mr. Chair, I can speak specifically to that. I think the applicant is requesting a copy of an agreement for a tree protection plan. And as I provided in my submissions, this isn't something that you would typically do with a preliminary tree protection plan. The agreement is the fact that the tree protection plan will protect the trees as is supported and approved ultimately by city staff.
I'm sorry, that's just not correct.
But that is absolutely correct. I'm sorry, are we into this again? Tree protection plans are required as conditions of approval before this committee every single day. Have you ever heard, I'm sorry.
Excuse me, sir, the agent has the floor.
Agreement with the neighbor
That-
in their own report.
But I'm talking about the actual conditions that we implement here every day. This is a preliminary tree protection plan. We have a condition for a final tree protection plan, which is condition 11 within this specific approval, is already there. It's been recommended by staff. If there is an issue, then yes, an agreement would be required. There is no issue yet. We have not completed the final tree protection plan. We have not laid out the houses yet. We may not even be anywhere near it. To require a condition to say that an agreement is required when we don't even know if an agreement would be required is premature.
If I get this right. So for the consent application, I make a motion to approve, and I don't see any conditions for the consent one. For that, those are those ones. Okay, I'm getting this confused. So those ones up there, the 14.
Yeah, so there were 14 conditions requested by staff. There was one condition requested by an interested party, and there were 2 conditions requested by the agent.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve with the 14 conditions from the staff and the 2 from the gentleman making the presentation. And not
The agent
include-
for the file?
The agent for the file. And not approve for the representative of the neighbors.
Okay, is there a seconder for that motion? Nick?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. All in favor of that motion? Opposed? Seeing
Seeing
none,
none.
motion carried, application approved.
Okay, and then for the minor variance application, is there a motion for that?
I make a motion to approve the minor variance. And just let me check to see if there's any conditions. I don't believe there was.
So are you approving the minor variances as listed on the notice of public hearing, as amended by staff, or as amended by the agent?
All. As amended by staff and the agent?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Okay, motion made by Donna. Is there a seconder?
Yep, I'd like to second that motion.
Okay, Nick, all in favor? Opposed?
Seeing none?
Motion carried, application approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
I'd just like the meeting minutes to reflect that I was refused the right of reply. Thank you.
Okay.
If you have any questions about the process or anything like that, you can send an email to cofa@hamilton.ca, or you're welcome to go up to the 5th floor. We're just in the middle of a hearing at the moment. Yeah. Not a problem. All right, we're all set for the next files. We did have them scheduled together. They are related applications. Did you want to hear the applications together, or did you want to hear the applications separately? It's for A2496 and A24119 for 23 and 31 called Cadwell Lane.
Wishes together?
Together. All right, are there any members of the public who wish to provide comments for A2496 for 23 Cadwell Lane or A24119 for 31 Cadwell Lane? Please make yourself known. Seeing none, Mr. Chair, would the agent for the file please come forward to the microphone or unmute yourself if you are attending virtually? And just for the record, I would like the motions separately, if that's possible, just to clarify some stuff. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the committee. It's a tough act to follow, this one with such a complicated file, but we are in full support of staff's recommendation, and I'm happy to answer any questions. My name is Edward John. I'm a principal planner at Landwise.
Okay. Committee have any questions?
No. If I could just clarify, so staff had requested an amendment to A24119 for 31 Cadwell Lane. So the variance is requested to be the same as 23 Cadwell Lane. I believe there was just an error when they were doing their review. So if that could just be reflected in the motion for that, if the committee so chooses.
Motion, anyone? Nick, give it a try.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve this application.
Okay.
The first one, which is A249623.
Okay, is there a seconder for that?
I'll second.
Sebastian? Sorry. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion carried, application approved. And the next one?
Yes, but I'd also like, for the next file, I'd like to make a motion to approve this as well. And that one is A2411931.
And is that as written on the notice of public hearing or as amended by staff in the comment package?
As amended by staff in the comment package.
Thank you.
Okay, is there a seconder?
I'll second that.
Donna? All in favor? Opposed?
Seeing none?
Motion carried, application approved.
right, and we're all set for the next file. So we're hearing B2427 for 46 South Meadow Crescent in Stony Creek. Are there any members of the public present who wish to provide comments? Please make yourself known. Seeing none, Mr. Chair. Would the agent for the file please come forward to the microphone or unmute yourself if you are attending virtually?
Okay, good afternoon, committee members. For the record, my name is Ryan Ferrari. I'm a registered professional planner with AJ Clark & Associates. I'm the agent on behalf of this application. I'll be very, very brief in my comments. First of all, staff have written a positive staff recommendation for you, recommending approval of this severance. The other thing I'd just like to mention to the committee is this is an identical severance application to one that was submitted and approved by the previous committee approximately 2 years ago. There were variances associated with that application. Those variances were approved as well. And in fact, most of the conditions that the staff have listed off for you in their staff report have actually been satisfied by both myself and my client. So we're almost ready to go here, and we're hoping your support will finalize this approval and get these lots built. With that said, I have 2 minor comments relating to the conditions. 2 conditions on the staff report. The first one is in regard to condition number 5. Condition number 5 talks about, if required, a road widening may be necessary, or a daylight triangle. Now, the previous application didn't require a road widening, and there was no such condition. And further, the transportation comments in the report note that no road widening is required, and neither do the engineering comments. So I'm a fan of removing redundant conditions. In my opinion, condition number 5 is redundant, and I've been in consultation with staff agreeing with me that this condition is redundant. Feel free to check with staff regarding that condition, but I just respectfully request that the committee remove condition number 5 from the application. The other condition that I'm asking the committee to remove would be number 8. That is one requiring a tree protection plan. There are no more trees on this site, therefore that condition isn't necessary. Condition number 9 speaks to a landscape plan. We'll do the necessary to submit a landscape plan and put plantings on the site. So in summary, I'm in support of the staff recommendation to approved. I respectfully request that this committee remove conditions number 5 and conditions number 8 from the application. And with that said, I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, committee have any questions?
Yeah.
The request?
I've heard that the staff have agreed to this. Can we hear from staff the grade number 5 and 8?
Through the chair, condition 5 is usually imposed just as a coverall, just in case there is a road widening. Staff are not always aware there's going to be one. And I see there's no condition as such, so I have no issue with that being removed.
And through the chair to the committee, condition 8 can also be removed as well. Staff were in contact with the applicant, and we agreed that it can be removed as well.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve it with approval of 5, 8.
Okay, is there a seconder?
I'll second that.
Donna, all in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion carried.
Thank you, committee members.
Motion carried, application approved.
All right, we are all set for the next files. We're hearing B2425 and A2498 for 238 Mountain Park Avenue in Hamilton. If there are any members of the public who are wishing to provide comments, please make yourself known. Yes, all right, if you could just come forward to the microphone, please, and state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Kathy Ward from 244 Mountain Park Avenue, the property directly beside 238. My husband and I moved into 244 46 years ago, so to say the least, we have a vested interest in our street, the Mountain Brow, and our community. Variance to, I don't need to say what it says, but 7.6 meters where 9 is required. It states that there's sufficient space for a driveway for on-site parking. The plan, from what I can tell, shows the proposed asphalt driveway is 3.8 meters, and in my language, it's 12.47 feet. The length of an average SUV is 14 to 17 feet, and will 7.6 frontage accommodate an average size vehicle. Variance 3, minimum front yard of 3.8 meters, whereas 6 meters is required. It says in the document is the variance minor, given that it'll take some time for the city to acquire lands for right-of-way widening along Mountain Park Avenue. The front yard may be used temporarily for parking without impacting the existing public road and sidewalk. I guess what our question is
What is the widening? What are they referring to?
so this street is extremely busy with trucks, cars, emergency vehicles, as well as a high pedestrian flow, including people using mobility aids, wheelchairs. They're going to and from the Juravinski Hospital and Cancer Center, not to mention an elementary school, JK to 8 in our area. Variance 4 is to allow 0 parking spaces per the ADU, whereas minimal of 1 parking spot is required. We can't assume that the people or person that will live in the ADU will not have a vehicle. Yes, we have public transit nearby. We have bike paths. There's shops on concession. However, there's a limited street parking that is only 1 hour or 2 hour maximum in this nearby area. Rarely is there availability to park due to the Juravinski Hospital and Cancer Center with the patients, visitors, staff, et cetera, within a 3 to 4 minute walk from 238. In conclusion, is this building an appropriate or desirable development, as there are not any semi-detached homes on Mountain Park Avenue? The proposed plans, in our opinion, do not fit into the character of the neighborhood. As stated in your document, there's no official heritage designation in this area. That certainly does not mean that there isn't a lot of history dating back to the Incline Railway and to the homes that were built as early as 1905. We realize, and we will not dispute, that there's a housing crisis, and as stated in the document, it'll contribute to the city's intensification. Please consider these variances in the future look of our beloved Mountain Park Avenue and Brow area. Our question also, does this meet the general intent of zoning bylaw? No. You can.
Okay, I'm Jerry Ward, same address. I'm just reading a letter here that I was asked to present. Dear committee, the developer/owner is asking for certain variances. I strongly believe that these variances will negatively impact the current appeal of our quaint neighborhood, rich in history. By allowing this semi-detached housing unit to have its requested variances closer to the sidewalk and neighbors, we will be compromising the charm and integrity of the Mountain Brow along the Mountain Brow Park Avenue, or Mountain Park Avenue. Please note that there are no other semis on our street. These semis will be visually obtrusive and don't respect the character and integrity of our neighborhood. By allowing this developer to have these variances, you will be setting a precedent for future developers with this historic area, which has been successfully preserved itself thus far. The house right next door to this lot was built in 1905, that's ours, Someone needs to speak up for the importance of such history. It brings value to a community that money can't buy. I understand that we are amidst a housing crisis. However, there are ways to build homes without wrecking a neighborhood's heritage and character. I hope everyone thinks about the long-term effects of today's decision, as it will set a precedent for all future developments along the mountain brow. Please help us preserve the charm of the Hamilton Brow along Mountain Park Avenue. The power is in your hands. Thank you for your time and consideration. Kimberly Creton, and she is at 232 Mountain Park Avenue and was not able to be here due to work assignments.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, is the agent present in person for this file? If you could please come forward to the microphone. Sorry, sir. Was that your water bottle? Somebody's already left glasses. Don't want to leave any more things.
Good afternoon, Chair, Committee, members of the public. Once again, my name is Edward John. I'm a partner and principal planner at Landwise. I'm here today to represent the application before you. And as we wait for the presentation to be loaded, I do want to extend thanks to staff. This is a resubmission. A previous application was submitted for these lands. The application was for 2 single detached dwellings. And through the considerations both of the public at that time and staff, we have now revised the scheme to propose the semi-detached property, which is before you today. Thank you. And if you could move the slide forward. And once more. So as seen by the aerial, the application is for a property on Mountain Park Avenue, obviously facing the Sherman access, and Concession Street is the principal street to its rear. If you could advance the slide, please. There are essentially 4 variances being requested today. I do wish to address the road widening, as this has had a significant impact on the nature and scale of the variances for both lot area and lot depth. The proposed 2.2 meter road widening, my client is more than happy to accommodate, but it is important to note that this is the only dwelling along Mountain Park Avenue that is currently providing that setback, and so that has an implication in terms of those variances. In particular, the setback of the front yard. The reduction in the front yard setback is purely to accommodate the building line consistent along the street as it stands today. Once that road widening is taken, the front yard setback is therefore taken from that new point in the property, and as such, that is just to be commensurate with the character along the street. I've heard the comments today in terms of concern over character. A semi-detached property is considered commensurate in terms of character for grade-related uses and is a permitted use on these lands. Once again, the lot area is a product most significantly as a result of the road widening. And then in terms of the parking space, I do want to address that that parking space would be in line with the new city-initiated parking approach throughout the city when it comes to the treatment of ADUs, additional dwelling units, as they are contained within this property. If you can move the slide on one more, please. This is just a quick history of the previous application, which proposed the single detached dwellings. And as I mentioned before, this was the decision that was denied at committee, and which we've had a number of meetings with staff in order to address those concerns. And where we are today is with the provision of a semi-detached property with the proposed driveways and landscaping as shown in this concept. If you could advance the slide one more time. In terms of lot frontage, I think this slide illustrates the number of lots within the vicinity that are between 7 and 8 meters wide, and certainly with the provision of a 7.2 meter wide lot on these lands would be commensurate to the character that's already established in this area. If you could advance the slide again, please. I do want to approach a number of conditions. While we're in support of staff's position and recommendation, there are 3 conditions attached to the severance application that we are hoping to amend. We do not believe these to be significant or detract from the nature of the approval. These conditions concern condition number 8. Condition number 8 is from Development Engineering and is requesting a stormwater management brief be submitted. Typically, these are matters that are addressed through the consent agreement, and if I can turn your attention to condition number 7, you will see within condition number 7 that stormwater management will be a component of that review, and certainly through that review, if a stormwater management brief is required, my client would be more than happy to provide. With regards to condition 10, and if I could ask you to just advance the slide twice. Condition number 10 concerns a noise study requirement. The triggering for this noise study was the proximity of a major arterial road, which is the Sherman Access. And as you can see from this slide, what the schedule in the OP does not take into account is the significant grade elevation difference between the Sherman Access and the subject lands. And I'm not an acoustical expert, but I can assure you can't buy better noise wall than the escarpment itself in this particular location. So we would ask for that condition to be deleted. And then finally, with concerns to condition number 13, there is a requirement for a landscape plan. What we are asking for in this instance is that the words "if required" just be added towards the end of that. The landscape plan itself is to account for any compensation trees. As shown and discussed through the report, there is not a possibility that we believe that any trees will be negatively impacted through this application, and as such, adding the words "if required" to the end of that condition will allow us to deal with it through the TPP. That concludes my comments. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Nick?
So you have driveways. Would the driveways allow parking?
Through the chair to the member. Currently, they are proposed with the road widening shown, so they would, for the future, provide sufficient space for a parked vehicle. At some point in the future, should that road widening be taken, and as I did mention, no other properties along Mountain Park have provided that road widening, there may be a point in the long-term future that that may not be eligible, but they do have parking within the garage.
One more question. Can you just relist and order the conditions you'd like removed?
Sure, no problem.
So we can take a look.
Absolutely. So condition 8, which refers to the stormwater management brief. And if I can go back, oh, the slides are off. If you look at condition 7, you'll see condition 7 speaks to the requirement of looking at stormwater management. So it's a bit of a belt and suspenders approach. So we're looking just for condition 7 to address that and remove condition 8. You go forward 1 there, please, Jamila. So this is condition 7 on the screen, and I've bolded for your preference the reference to the stormwater management. And then after that, we are looking for the removal of the noise condition, condition number 10. And once again, we believe the presence of the escarpment and the lower elevation of Upper Sherman to not require that noise study in this particular location. It is triggered as a result of a plan, a schedule within the Urban Hamilton official plan, but obviously that plan does not take into those mitigating factors which we believe are fairly significant in this issue. And then finally, the amendment of condition number 13, where we are seeking just to have "if required" placed at the end of that landscape requirement.
Something I'd want to mention is that there's some of the conditions are repetitive, like the 13 and 15, I think, are the same, and 14 and 12 are the same. So I kind of wanted just to highlight that before we put out a motion. The other thing I wanted to ask you was, are there any trees on this property? From what I've seen, there wasn't.
There are no significant trees. There was a small tree before of a very minimal caliper. And so I will look to the woods client. No, it has been removed. It was a very small tree. So the only tree to which the TPP will be affecting, because there are no street trees, is a neighboring tree that is away from the boundary.
Okay, thank you.
I can provide just a little bit of clarification. So yes, conditions 14 and 15 were duplicates and they can be removed. It was a typo.
Anything else? Committee, questions, motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion, please, to approve this application with the removal of condition 8 with an amendment to condition 7.
So sorry, no, condition 7 can stay as is. It's the removal of condition 8 and 10 and the amendment of condition 13.
Okay, got that written down. Sorry about that. So motion to approve, please, with striking out condition 8, striking out condition 10, and amending condition 13 to say, if required, placed at the end. And then the removal of conditions 14 and 15 as well.
And sorry, is that just a motion for the consent application, or were you including the minor variance application? Because there was one additional condition with the minor variance application.
Yeah, I was speaking to the entire application,
Both the consent and the minor
both the
variance?
consent and the minor variances.
And was the minor variance with the condition that was requested?
Can you repeat that condition or point me to it?
Yep, so that condition was for the minor variance, and that was that the approved minor variances of application A 2498 apply to a semi-detached dwelling use only.
Any discussion? Okay, yes, with that condition, please, thank you.
Okay.
If you need me to repeat it,
Seconder?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none?
Seeing none?
Motion carried, application approved.
Thank you so much.
All right, we are all set for a 24-100 for 90 Golf Club Road in Glanbrook. We have zoning staff who wish to speak first, and then we'll hear from interested parties. So, William, are you there?
Yes, hello. Through you, the chair, the variance regarding the location, it's been determined that some wording needs to be added to recognize the flankage yard as well as a front yard.
Okay. All right, are there any members of the public who wish to provide comments for A 24-100 for 90 Golf Club Road in Glanbrook? Please make yourself known. Seeing none, I have no one registered to provide comments virtually. If the agent for the file could please come forward to the microphone.
Hello, committee. My name is Liam Doherty. I'm a senior planner at AJ Clark & Associates, and I'm the agent for the application. I'm going to request for a deferral. We've been working with staff to figure out a lot of problems, and there's been a recommendation from staff and Natural Heritage that we're going to go and survey where the actual trees are, and so we can agree to where the buffer will be and where we'll set up this garage. Because it's our intent not to cut down any trees, and the city doesn't want us to cut down trees. So my main intent was to allow anybody from the public to speak up. Since there's no one here, I am requesting the application be deferred until we have time to work with staff to work out a modified application.
How large is this lot? Is it?
About 3 hectares.
Yeah, I've seen it.
It's very large.
Okay, motion for table.
I'll move motion to table.
Al, seconder, Nick.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion carried, application tabled.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're all set for the next file. We're hearing HMA 23261 for 1865 Ramel Road East in Stony Creek. Are there any members of the public who wish to provide comments? Please make yourself known. Seeing none, would the agent for the file please come forward to the microphone or unmute yourself if you are attending virtually.
Good afternoon. This is Rima Masri, architect. I'm the agent for the applicant and I'm attending virtually. I have a brief presentation to share, if that's okay. Oh,
Yes.
Can you allow me to share content, please?
Okay, you should be good to go.
Okay, just a second. Just 1 second. Sorry, I can't. So this is the building that is subject to this application as is seen from Reimer Road. And this is the summary of the variances that we're here in front of you to approve. So basically, most of the variances result of the site. As you can see, the site sits on a bedrock. It's about 1 meter below the surface. And in addition to the difficulty of excavating in the bedrock, the site includes a karst, which is a kind of a break in the rock that is regulated in terms of how excavation needs to happen. Just because the Natural Heritage is concerned that the cars can transfer into other sites. So excavation is complex and it's highly regulated. So that affects how the building sits on the site and how deep we can push the parking structure. We're requesting for minimal additional height and allowance to allow additional amenity on the roof. And the rest of the variances are a discussion as a result of discussion with the city, particularly the urban design group. It is an 8-story building. The zoning allows for sorry, let me just back up a little. 8-story building, we previously came to the committee to increase the building height, but since we found out that we have to allow a garbage truck to go under this a part of the building under the driveway, as the city informed us that they didn't want a garbage truck to back up within the site. And we need a clearance of 4.7 meter high, plus the beams and the structure. So we need that extra height to allow the safe movement of the garbage truck, plus kind of the site slopes at the back. So that's where the requirement for the height comes from. In terms of the amenity on the roof, the zoning allows for a certain area to be included in the roof that doesn't count part of the height, with stipulation on the area and the amount of setbacks. So we're just asking for a little allowance there so that we can maximize the size and type of amenities we're providing. This is 197 units and mostly small units. So the developer believes that providing proper amenities for exercise and for indoor and outdoor type of socialization is important to create a healthy living community within the building. And due to how the site is, the grades, how the grades work, this little area of the stair, it's an exit from the parking. So it ended up that this area is within the setback. So we need to be able to exit from the from the building, and if we were to exit at the ground floor, we'll have even more stairs. So this is actually because it goes down, it has no impact on the street or the public realm. And as I was speaking about the karst and the bedrock, the back of the parking structure sticks out of the ground by more than what is allowed in the zoning. So that acts as a retaining wall, as you can see here. The retaining wall ranges from about 6 inches to 4 feet. It's in the red here. So we're asking for variances to allow that, which triggers a number of variances, setback and the height of the retaining wall and some of these the buffers that we have for the landscaping. So this is kind of all tied together. So that, because even though we did push the building down, but because of the bedrock and because of the slope of the site, this was a good average so that we can optimize all the site characteristics. The next variance is this is the retaining wall as it's seen from the rear of the lot. And this is the buffer. It is just short by 4 inches. These variances, some of the zoning bylaws are contradictory in the sense that the zoning bylaw requires minimum 1.5 meter ground floor level when you have residential units on the ground floor, which actually would lift the building up, which is not desirable for the site because it would lift the parking with it and increase the previous variances. Also, discussion with urban design, they wished us to reduce it from the 1.5 meter so that we can have accessible access in the front and some of the commercial units, which improve the building design, improve the relationship of the building to the street, but resulted in this variance. And another discussion that we had with urban design is relocating of the commercial, because we couldn't drop the building, even though we did drop it, but we couldn't drop it so that it's level with the street. So they asked us if we can relocate some of the commercial units to this end of the building, so that these would be accessible. Which resulted in this unit being within the 1.5 meter within the setback. So the zoning bylaw requires extra setback when there is a residential unit, in addition to the building setback itself. This used to be commercial, and working with urban design staff, we switched, we created 2 commercial units here, and then we changed this to residential, which resulted in this little triangle being in that additional 1.5 meter setback. This is kind of housekeeping. There is a strange stipulation in the zoning bylaw that we are required to provide a screen to screen the parking, but we cannot provide a screen to screen the transformer. So talking with staff, their preference was to locate the screen in front of the transformer, so that we're screening both the transformer and the parking, which resulted in this variance, but it is a better site planning. We also have the area vents to ventilate the garage, which is a code requirement, and mechanically they worked best in these areas, which the zoning bylaw strictly doesn't allow, even though those air vents, they don't stick out of the ground. So these are all the variances. I would like to ask that the committee would approve this application, despite staff recommendation to table it. We were in front of the committee back in November 2023 with this exact application, and at the time staff asked for the application to be deferred because they needed more time to review the site plan. And at the time, if members would remember, I asked that staff, we would be allowed to talk with staff to understand what is their concerns, because from our point of view, we were in constant communication with staff, and we were under the impression that we had clarity from both sides. And so we have been meeting with staff in December and January and all the way till end of April, trying to listen to the issues and concerns and improve the site plan to a point where we can come back in front of this committee. So yet again, we're faced with another request for tabling because they're requesting more time, which I'm not clear why more time, because the application didn't change. The design has been the same since we were granted the conditional site plan approval in November 22. So between November 22 to late summer 23, we worked with site plan staff. We submitted for permit in the summer of 23. The permit is ready to be issued in December of 23. Nothing has changed. And this continual request to postpone the application is not helping the project to succeed. It's adding cost and it's jeopardizing its ability to obtain financing. And it's not helping us to build homes faster. so I'm puzzled. Why is the staff wants more time, even though we spent the last 7 months discussing the issues since our first application? So I would request that the committee approve the variances because these are not going to change. And even if staff has any further concerns, we're still in the site plan process, and then we can address these through the site plan process. And if the committee chooses not to approve the application, if we can please schedule it for the next hearing so that we're not wasting any more time. Thank you.
Thank you. To the committee or to staff, maybe, I guess over the 7-month period, are the issues coming to light that have to be addressed or?
Through the chair to the committee, development planning. In speaking with the site plan team, there are still concerns regarding the site plan as it is. The applicant may have had discussions with the site plan team the last 7 months, which is beneficial to the project. Unfortunately, the submission for this next site plan submission was only submitted on June 7th. So in order to get a comprehensive review from the site plan team and all the additional departments, staff are recommending tabling until those comments are back, and then staff can make a comprehensive review after that. Until then, it would be premature to provide an opinion on the proposal that has quite a few concerns from site plan.
What's the estimated time frame for that?
Through the chair to the committee member, I believe site plan team said it was about 4 weeks. Application was submitted June 7th once it's able to get circulated out in the standard commenting period.
So it's probably better that we don't, like, if we table this not for the next meeting, it would be for a few weeks out. Just putting that out there for everyone.
Anyone else?
From what I'm hearing from this application was just changes just made just a little while ago, so I would make a motion to table it till we can find out, get the answers to this.
Okay, motion on the floor by Mel.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Sebastian. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion carried, application tabled.
All right, we're all set for the next file. We're hearing A2490 for 122 East 16th Street in Hamilton. Are there any members of the public present who wish to provide comments? Please make yourself known. Seeing none, would the owner for the file please unmute yourself if you are attending virtually or come forward to the microphone.
Good afternoon.
Hello. Yes, go ahead.
Hi, we are applying for a variance for a setback from a flankage lot line of 2.2 meters when the city requires 3.
Okay. Is that your, do you have any other questions at this time?
No, we were just looking over some of your comments in regards to insufficient information for landscaping and parking and so on and so forth. And nothing has changed. We actually designed the house around the existing tree on the property as it is an established maple tree, a sugar maple. Okay. And the parking, we also have two two-car driveways
It was always there.
existing. Yeah.
Okay. Committee, have any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Moved by Mal,
Second that.
second by Nick. All in favor? Opposed? Seeing none, motion carried, application approved.
Thank you.
All right, we're all set for the next file. We're hearing HMA 2439 for 10 Robbins Avenue in Hamilton. Are there any members of the public present who wish to provide comments? Please make yourself known. Seeing none, with the applicant for the file, please unmute yourself or come forward to the microphone if you're attending in person. With the owner or applicant for HMA 2439 for 10 Robbins Avenue in Hamilton, please unmute yourself and make yourself known. I see who I believe is one of the owners of the property, but they are not unmuting themselves, Mr. Chair.
What's the wishes of the committee? Do you want to?
Can you hear me? This,
Oh,
Sorry, can you hear me?
yep.
Yes?
Okay. Okay, my name is Arkam Makbul. I'm the owner of the property, but I do expect my representative, Lucid Home, to be there as well.
Hi, sorry about that. I was just having some issues with my microphone.
okay.
My name's Griffin. I work with Lucid Homes. I'm actually the representing Arkham Makbul for this project at 10 Robbins Avenue. So we've actually read the staff comments and we're in agreement with all the conditions. We noticed you had some concerns about the eaves and gutters along the property line. We just wanted to note that the actual footprint of the house is actually further away from the property line than the existing house, and that the existing gutters actually go over the property line, so that this proposal is actually less intrusive than the existing dwelling. We've also decreased the side yard setback on that side, so we're providing more space for access, and this is based off the last staff recommendations we received in the tabled discussion in the last hearing. We also noted that you had a concern for electrical parking. That's something we're happy to provide on our drawings and in the proposal. There's no issue there. And we also noted that there was some concern regarding parking. We note that the one parking spot that is proposed within the within the dwelling, that would be obviously able to be used, and the one that actually touches outside of the property line, it is a requirement at this time, but it's my understanding that city staff has already approved a bylaw that would remove the requirement for that parking space entirely. Despite this, we will still provide the electrical charging, and yeah, that's all I have to say. If you have any questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer.
Okay, thank you. Does the committee have any questions at this time? Motion?
As long as you're ready to provide the electrical charging, I'll move it to the application with you providing the electrical charging.
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
We're happy to meet any requirements that you guys set.
Moved by Mel.
Sorry, so that was to approve variances 1 through 5, and was it with the conditions that were proposed as well?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a seconder?
I'll second that.
Donna? All in favor? Opposed?
Seeing none?
Motion carried, application approved.
Thank you for your time.
All right, and that is the last item on the agenda.
Motion for adjournment? Mel? Do we need a seconder? Okay, Nick?
Hearing is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.